Emeka was 16 years old when he stole from his master. Not a big theft, not the kind that makes the news or lands a person in court. 3,000 naira from a small wooden drawer beneath a counter in Onitsha main market. The kind of money that a busy market day would swallow without anyone noticing, or so he told himself. He was not a thief. He had never stolen anything before that Tuesday afternoon. He knew what it felt like to have things taken from you. He was not that kind of person. Until he was. And the reason he was, the reason a boy who had never stolen anything in 16 years put his hand in a drawer that afternoon, was a girl named Chioma who sold rice and stew at the end of the line, and who had never once asked him for a single naira. That is the part that stayed with him longest.
Onitsha main market does not ease you in gently. It is the largest market in West Africa, and it conducts itself with complete indifference to that fact. 10,000 people doing business simultaneously. The noise and heat and smell of it arriving all at once the first time you walk in. Metal and oil and exhaust and the specific energy of a place where money is moving in every direction and everyone knows exactly what they are doing except you. Emeka arrived from Oguta in Imo State at the age of 15. He was the second of 4 children. His father farmed land that gave less every year. His mother washed clothes for families with more than theirs. When a family connection offered the chance to place Emeka with a trader in Onitsha, 5 years, learn the spare parts business, come out with a skill and money to start his own, his father packed his bag and wrote a letter. Not in Igbo, in English. The way Nigerians write letters when the matter is serious and the recipient is someone they want to respect properly. The letter said, "Dear Mr. Aloysius, I am writing to introduce my son Emeka to you. He is a good boy and a hard-working one. I am trusting him into your care and I pray God will bless your business. Please treat him as your own. His mother and I are grateful for this opportunity. Yours faithfully, Mr. Emmanuel Okafor."
The man the letter was addressed to was Aloysius Chukwuemeka Obiora. Oga Aloysius to everyone who worked for him. A man in his mid-50s who ran Aloysius Enterprises Spare Parts and Accessories, Shop 14, Line C, with the kind of discipline that comes from building something from nothing and knowing exactly what it cost. He arrived at the shop before any of his apprentices every morning. He left after all of them every evening. He wore the same style of plain short-sleeve shirt every day in different colors. He did not raise his voice. He did not waste words. When he was satisfied with something, he said nothing. When he was not satisfied, he also said nothing. But anyone who worked for him long enough learned that the quality of those two silences was completely different. Emeka lived in Oga Aloysius' house in a small room at the back, shared with one other apprentice. He ate the food the house provided. He came to the shop every morning before 7. He swept, he fetched, he carried, he watched. This is the Igba boy system. The education is in the watching, not in the explaining. And Oga Aloysius was a man worth watching if you had the patience to do it carefully. Emeka had the patience. That was never his problem. If you have ever worked under somebody and learned more from watching them than from anything they ever sat down to teach you, drop a like. That kind of school does not give certificates, but it gives something better. Her name was Chioma. She sold rice and stew from a covered tray,
moving through Line C at lunchtime with the unhurried efficiency of someone who knows every customer and needs no performance to sell what she is selling. She was 17, 1 year older than Emeka. She had the specific quality of a girl who is completely comfortable in her own life, which Emeka found both attractive and slightly intimidating because his own life at that point was not something he was comfortable in at all. He had been buying his lunch from her for 3 months before he said anything beyond the transaction. She started sitting with him sometimes on the low bench outside Shop 14 during the slow afternoon hours. They talked about her family in Nnewi, his family in Oguta, the ongoing drama between two traders 2 rows over that everyone in Line C was following like a television program. Simple conversations, easy ones. And somewhere in those easy conversations, without planning it or even noticing it happening, Emeka began to want Chioma to think well of him. He bought her a small bottle of perfume from the cosmetics trader nearby. 800 naira, saved over 3 weeks from errand money. She thanked him simply, without making a production of it, which made him want to do it again. The second gift cost 1,200 naira. The third cost 2,000 naira. Each one more than the one before. Each one bought with money he was saving more carefully and eating less to afford. Not because Chioma asked for anything. She never once asked for anything. But because a senior apprentice had told Emeka one evening with the casual authority of someone 2 years further into their education, "That girl likes fine things. She does not stay with a man who has nothing." That one sentence cost Emeka more than any of the gifts ever did. By the time his savings were completely gone, Chioma had not asked him for a single naira. But Emeka had convinced himself that stopping the gifts would mean losing her, which said everything about where his head was at 16 and nothing accurate about who Chioma actually was. Have you ever spent money on somebody who never even asked you to? Drop in the comments, yes or no. Let us see how many of us have been there.
The market was slow that Tuesday. Rain had come in the morning and kept customers away. Oga Aloysius was at a supplier meeting. The senior apprentices were on a delivery 2 streets over. Emeka was alone in the shop. The drawer under the counter was unlocked. It was always unlocked. Oga Aloysius did not lock it because locking it would have meant saying something he chose not to say out loud, that he did not fully trust the people who worked for him. The unlocked drawer was itself a statement, a test that was never announced as a test. Emeka opened it. He counted 3,000 naira. He put it in his pocket. He closed the drawer. There is an old Igbo saying, "The dog does not chew the bone that has been hung around his neck," meaning a person who is trusted to guard something does not steal from the very thing they were given to protect. Emeka had been given the shop to guard. He had just chewed the bone. And then he stood behind that counter for almost 5 minutes without moving, the money in his pocket, his hat somewhere uncomfortable, Chioma's face somewhere in his head, before a customer walked in asking for brake pads, and Emeka had to compose himself and serve the man like a boy who had not just done what he had done. He managed it. That frightened him more than if he had not managed it. That night, lying on his mat in Oga Aloysius' house while the other apprentices slept beside him, Emeka held the 3,000 naira in his hand and could not sleep. Not from fear of being caught. What kept him awake was something simpler and worse. The realization that he had been capable of this. That the person who put his hand in that drawer was him. Not a version of him under impossible pressure. Just him on a slow Tuesday afternoon because of a girl who had never asked him for anything and a senior apprentice's careless comment. The next morning, Oga Aloysius was already at his desk doing accounts when Emeka arrived early. Emeka noticed Oga Aloysius glance at the drawer, just once, quickly, the way a man checks something he already suspects the answer to. Emeka said nothing. He picked up the broom and began sweeping. He might have imagined it,
but that glance sat in his chest for the rest of the day like a stone. Emeka did not spend the money. He carried it for 3 days. 3 days of coming to the shop, doing his work, watching Oga Aloysius move through the day with the same deliberate quietness, waiting for something to happen that never came. On the second day, Oga Aloysius gathered all the apprentices to discuss a stock discrepancy from the previous week. Some parts had been logged incorrectly. He went through the numbers carefully, without raising his voice, accounting for every single item until the error was found and corrected. Emeka sat through that meeting with 3,000 naira folded in his inner pocket and his face arranged in careful attention, while his chest felt like something was pressing on it from inside. The discrepancy had nothing to do with him, but watching Oga Aloysius go through those numbers, that precise, patient, unhurried accounting of every part and every naira, told Emeka something he had been trying not to know since Tuesday. This was a man who tracked everything that moved through his business. Everything. Which meant one of two things. Either Oga Aloysius already knew about the 3,000 naira and was waiting, or he would know very soon.
On the morning of the third day, Emeka woke up before the other apprentice, got dressed quietly, and went to find Oga Aloysius before the shop opened. He placed the 3,000 naira on the table between them. He spoke in plain English, the nervous direct English of a teenager who has rehearsed what he needs to say and is now saying it before his courage runs out. "Sir, I want to tell you something. Last Tuesday when you were not in the shop, I opened the drawer. I took 3,000 naira. I am bringing it back. I am very sorry, sir. It will never happen again." Oga Aloysius looked at the money on the table. He looked at it for a long time without speaking. Then he looked at Emeka. The silence that followed was the longest of Emeka's life to that point. Not because Oga Aloysius was known to be a shouting man. He was not. But because this silence had a texture that was different from any silence Emeka had felt from him before. It was not the silence of a man deciding. It was the silence of a man who had already decided and was letting the full weight of the moment exist before he moved past it. Then Oga Aloysius picked up the 3,000 naira, put it back in the drawer, said, "Go and open the shop." That was all. No shouting, no threats, no calling of family, no sending Emeka back to Oguta in disgrace. Just go and open the shop. Emeka went and opened the shop. He did not know whether to feel relieved or more afraid. The response had been so minimal, so without visible consequence, that he could not tell whether it was forgiveness or simply the beginning of something longer that had not yet arrived. He would not understand what it actually was for another 3 weeks. The Igbo say, after the race, the distance covered is calculated. Emeka had just run something. He did not yet know how far. If you know somebody who corrected you without embarrassing you, somebody who handled you with more grace than you deserved, drop a like for that person right now. Not everybody gets a correction like that.
His mother's letter arrived on a Thursday. She wrote in English, the careful, formal English of a Nigerian mother who takes letter writing seriously. The letter said, "Dear Emeka, I hope you are doing well and that Oga Aloysius is satisfied with your work. I am writing about something that has confused your father and myself. The school told us that Chukwudi's fees for next term have been paid in full. We did not pay it. Your father did not pay it. The school said the money came from somebody in Onitsha. We do not know who. Please, do you know anything about this? We do not want to collect money from somebody we cannot thank properly. Reply quickly. Your mother." Emeka read the letter, read it again, sat with it. Chukwudi was his younger brother, 13 years old, the third of the 4 children. His school fees for that term had been something the family had been quietly dreading. The money was not there, and no one had a plan for where it would come from. The amount 45,000 naira was not a small amount for a family like theirs. It was not the kind of money that appeared from nowhere, except it had appeared from an account in Onitsha, paid without telling anyone, without being asked, without any signal to Emeka, not a word, not a look, not the smallest indication in 3 weeks of walking beside this man every single day that it had happened or was going to happen. Emeka thought about the drawer, the 3,000 naira, the way Oga Aloysius had looked at the money, put it back and said, "Go and open the shop." He thought about the stock meeting, the man who tracked everything. A man who tracked everything had quietly sent 45,000 naira to a village in Imo State for a 13-year-old boy he had never met. Without being asked, without mentioning it, without expecting thanks he would never have allowed himself to receive. Emeka sat with that for 2 full days before he could stand up properly under the weight of it. Has somebody ever done something for you or your family that you only found out about later? Something they never told you themselves? Write in the comments the struggle. Let us know.
He went to Oga Aloysius on the second day after the letter. He came to the back of the shop in the slow afternoon hour and stood in front of him the same way he had stood in front of him 3 weeks before. The same position, the same deliberate choice to be directly in front of this man rather than beside him. He told him about the letter, what his mother had written, what the school had told her, what he understood the bank transfer to mean. Oga Aloysius listened without interrupting. When Emeka finished, there was a moment of silence. Then Oga Aloysius said, "Your brother is intelligent. Intelligent children should stay in school. I have the means to help. It is not a complicated decision." He went back to his stock list. Emeka stood there a moment longer than was necessary. Then he went back to work. This is what Emeka says now, several years later, when people ask him about Oga Aloysius. "That man never told me he was going to do it. Never mentioned it before, never mentioned it after. If my mother had not written that letter, I would never have known. And I think that was exactly the point. He was not doing it for my gratitude. He saw something that needed doing and he did it. That is the most serious kind of person to have wronged." Emeka finished his 5 years. He did not steal again. Not from the drawer, not from the stock, not in the small ways that some apprentices sometimes take, the change rounded quietly in their favor, the part that somehow does not reach the inventory. Not once in 4 remaining years did he take anything that was not his. At settlement, Oga Aloysius gave him exactly what had been agreed from the beginning: starter capital and support to open his own shop, the standard settlement for a completed Igbaboi term. Not 1 naira more, not 1 naira less. No acknowledgement of the drawer, no acknowledgement of the letter, no ceremony around any of it. Emeka did not expect ceremony. 5 years had taught him that Oga Aloysius said things through what he did, not through what he said about what he did. The settlement delivered exactly as promised, not reduced by a single naira despite what happened in year 1, was the last statement Oga Aloysius made to Emeka without using words.
He has his own shop now in Oka, electrical fittings and accessories. 3 years old, growing slowly but growing honestly. He has 1 apprentice, a 16-year-old boy who arrived from the village with a bag and a letter from his father. The same age Emeka was when he stepped off the bus in Onitsha. Emeka has not yet told this boy the story of what he himself did when he was 16. Not about the drawer, not about Chioma, not about the letter from his mother. He is waiting for the right moment. The moment when the boy is facing something difficult enough that the story will be useful to him rather than just interesting. Because that is what the story is for. Not for Emeka to feel better about having told it, for the boy to have it when he needs it. That is also something Oga Aloysius taught him, without ever saying it directly. Chukwudi, the younger brother, whose school fees were paid by a man he has never met, finished secondary school. He is now in his second year studying engineering at a federal university. He does not know the story of how that first critical term was paid for. Emeka has not told him yet. He will, when the time is right. What Onitsha gave Emeka, what Oga Aloysius Enterprises and a drawer and 3,000 naira and a letter from his mother gave him, is not something that fits easily into one sentence. But if he had to say it simply, this is what he would say. The people who are most quietly generous are usually the people you can least afford to betray. Not because they will punish you if you do, but because when you find out what they were already doing for you, the punishment they give you is one that no court could design and no Oga could deliver. They simply make you see yourself clearly, and you have to live with that. Oga Aloysius never mentioned the drawer again, not once in 5 years. That silence was the most complete lesson Emeka ever received. There is a proverb his people say about men like Oga Aloysius. A mature eagle feather will forever remain pure. A man whose character is solid does not change it because of what a 16-year-old boy did on a slow Tuesday in November. He simply continues being what he is. And eventually, if you are paying attention, you become a little of it yourself. If this story is one you needed to hear today, subscribe. This is The Struggle NG, and Emeka's road is closer to yours than you might want to admit right now.